It's a common sense recap of the big stories. It's Katz and Cosby on 77 WABC.
Let's go to Alan Dershowitz.
Yep, exactly. We have Alan Dershowitz now joining us, the great Harvard Law School professor emeritus. Professor Dershowitz, we want to get your reaction to something that is making a lot of headlines. These pro-Palestinian protesters on 4th of July burning American flags. It was so gut-wrenching and vile to see. What are they doing here? They haven't been arrested. And if they don't like this country, you know how I feel. Go ahead. Your thoughts, Professor.
Well, first of all, I love listening to my former student, Anthony Scaramucci. He always has wise, interesting, and provocative things to say. So, I'm so proud of him as a former student. These are not pro-Palestinian demonstrators. These are anti-American demonstrators. They're using the Gaza issue, the Palestine issue, as just another excuse to bring America down. And the fact that they're burning American flags on July 4th proves that beyond any doubt. Scratch an anti-Zionist, and you're going to find an anti-American. This is an attack on America, using the Palestine-Gaza issue as the latest excuse. This has gone on for 100 years. The radical anti-American left has used every issue to try to bring down America. And we shouldn't in any way confuse what they're doing. They're not pro-Palestinian. If they were pro-Palestinian, they'd be demanding that Hamas do a ceasefire. Hamas is the only barrier to a ceasefire today. But these folks would never demand that Hamas accept a ceasefire, because the last thing they want is peace in the Middle East. What they want is continuing bloodshed and continuing efforts to destroy America. And that's why it's so disgusting to see people burn American flags. It not only brings tears to your eyes, but it just brings so much anger to people who are patriotic and who love America.
Professor Alan Dershowitz, when I saw this and I was looking at the video, I could not believe it. I agree with you. I love this country. I know you do too. All of our listeners do too. And it made me think, why don't you go over to Gaza and why don't you burn a Hamas flag? Let's see how long you last there. I mean, I was so outraged. Your reaction of just how I feel like ungrateful these people are to be in the greatest country in the world, and they have no clue of what these other countries would do if they start burning their flag on their Independence Day.
Or forget about burning a flag. Go to Gaza and have a rainbow flag. You'll be thrown off a roof. Go to Gaza and don't wear the appropriate Muslim garb, and you'll be put in jail. These folks who claim to support Hamas and Gaza and the Palestinians are supporting causes that are so such an anathema to democracy, and it's just appalling. Some of it's out of ignorance. These people just don't know, some of them. Others out of malevolence. I think a lot of it is out of just antagonism to the United States, to Judeo-Christian traditions, to Western democracy. And it's a war of morality. There's a right side of this and a wrong side of this. Look, you can be critical of any country. You can be critical of policies of the United States, of Great Britain, of France. We're seeing transitions all over the world today. Britain, new government. By the way, for the first time in history, that probably tonight, at 10 Downing Street, where the new prime minister is moving in, for the first time in history, Sabbath candles, Jewish Sabbath candles, will be lit because the wife of the new prime minister of Great Britain is a Jew who lights Sabbath candles and celebrates Sabbath with the children. So, we're seeing such changes in the world today. France, we don't know whether they're going to move right or left. They're not going to move center. And America has to remain strong, and we have to move both parties away from radical extremes of the right and left and more toward the pro-American center.
Professor, give us your analysis of what the new government at the UK will be like. I mean, it was a landslide of 400-something to 150.
It's amazing. It's amazing. I mean, I know some of the actors in Great Britain. What we're seeing is the Labour Party moving way, way to the center. Under Corbyn, it was the most extreme anti-American, anti-Semitic, anti-Western party among any democracies. They threw him out. and they move toward a centrist who is supportive of American values and other values. But in France, we're not seeing that. In France, we're seeing the opposite. We're seeing 33% of the polls show they support Le Pen, very right wing, and 27% extreme left wing, and only 23% Macron in the middle. So we're seeing changes all over the world, and that's why it's so important for the United States, the strongest country in the world, to maintain its balance as a centrist country. You can be centrist left, you can be centrist right. That doesn't really matter. The important thing is to support American values and move closer to the center and away from all of these extremes. I think it's a good development in Great Britain. I think it's a bad development in France. We'll have to wait and see what the election.
But I heard Ed Cox here, Professor. I heard the new prime minister saying, but we have to keep our momentum going. I think there's a real socialist base in his party that Corbyn, his predecessor as leader of the party, represented. And he knows that is still a problem for him, despite his big majority.
And, of course, Corbyn won his seat in a very close election, and he shouldn't have. Nobody should vote for somebody like Corbyn. But he's made a commitment to move to the center, and he has enormous power now because of the overwhelming nature of his victory. He can shape the party very much to his own ends, and I hope he'll do the right thing in doing so. But the most important thing in America, look, we're about to hear very important news, obviously, and that is we know that Biden made a very good speech in Wisconsin today, but how will he do when he's questioned by a very, very experienced interviewer? And that will tell us a lot about who the next president of the United States may well be. So, are
you saying that? What are you saying about the George Stephanopoulos interview, which is
coming up any minute?
Coming up.
Yeah.
They're supposed to do it today.
Have a big impact. It could have a big impact. We'll probably hear the first indications of it on the 6:30 ABC News, and then obviously later on tonight we'll be able to see the entire interview live. So we'll be able to make our own judgment as to whether he stays in the race. He has indicated that he wants to stay in the race. And my view, just personally, is I prefer him to the devil I don't know. I'm so afraid the Democratic Party, if they dump him, will appoint somebody who is far, far, far to the left of him and much less supportive of the kinds of values that many of us.
So are you saying,
values.
Professor, the way you just said your words, are you saying you think he's really in control of things going on in the White House?
I don't know.
I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't either.
I don't know who's making the decisions, but I don't think it's President Bush.
But the American public will judge him.
President Biden. Yep.
President Biden.
Yeah, they'll judge him by how he does in this interview. Nobody knows what goes on in the inner sanctums of the White House. And, people will – first of all, there are two decisions to be made. He has to make the first decision. Is he going to stay on? And if he doesn't do well in the interview, he's not going to stay on. If he does do well, he's going to stay on. And then we have months to judge whether he is, A, competent now, and more importantly, will he be competent for the next 4 years? And if not, do we really want to see his vice president become the next president? Those are all fair issues to be considered.
Yeah, and
then, of course, Trump has to decide who to appoint as his vice president.
Right.
And we haven't heard really anything about that.
Yeah.
That could be very important.
There is so much drama. Yeah, real quick.
While his staff's been leaking like a sieve, that's only the outer staff. The inner staff, doesn't he have a very loyal, strong inner staff that understands him and is working with him that can keep him going for the next few months?
I think possibly, but remember, somebody who he was very intimate with leaked to the New York Times the fact that he's thinking about possibly dropping out. That's not loyalty.
Yeah, they're leaking like a sieve.
So they are leaking, and we don't know how close they are to him. So, there's a lot of drama here and a lot of moving parts. And if anybody now predicts what the outcome in the next year, the next 6 months is going to be, I don't think they have a basis for doing it. We may know more in the next few hours. If
You're absolutely right.
Interview, it's over.
Yeah, nobody
Professor,
knows.
you're absolutely right. Nobody really knows, and I don't think Biden himself knows.
Yeah, and what an incredible moment it is. You're right. You're right.
Unprecedented.
We're living through history, yeah.
We are. Professor, thank you so much. We so appreciate you
I
joining us.
just want to ask a question. Last week you were in Alaska, and we got you on.
I know the
in
answer,
Alaska.
but I'm not going to cheat.
Then we got you when you were in Paris. Can you tell us where are you today?
I'm in Dubrovnik.
Oh,
Croatia.
I told you I am so jealous.
I just celebrated Shabbos, Sabbath, with good friends on a friend's boat, and we're having a wonderful cruise in the Adriatic Sea. But, with the miracles of radio and the miracle of
internet,
of Wi-Fi, we can talk to each other as if I'm next door.
Well, can we be in
Thank
your
you.
luggage? Can John and I and Ed be in your luggage on the next trip?
Thank you, Professor. Have a great weekend, and God bless America.
Thank you. You too. Thank you.
Hi, it's Lou Dobbs for Priority Gold, America's precious metals dealer. These are volatile times with high inflation, soaring debt, wars on multiple continents, and rising financial stress. Central banks are buying gold to diversify their reserves, so are many Americans. Call Priority Gold and find out how precious metals can help you diversify your portfolio. They're highly rated and happy to help. Call 1-866-303-6357 or get a free gold guide at PriorityGoldGuide.com. That's PriorityGoldGuide.com.